All right, so first of all, thank you again for coming. I appreciate it. My name is Sean Ashton. I'm council member for the city of Downey. I've been here for 6 years. I have about a year and a half to go. Just wanted to go ahead and kind of update you on some things that are happening in the city. I feel some of what I'm going to cover will hopefully kind of get into what you want to talk about, but if not, I'm here to, go over whatever questions you might have. So, some of our achievements that we've had. So we've had a pretty good year considering that with the pandemic, it's been kind of very difficult time. But over the past year, we decided to work on our pension obligation. So part of our so every city employee has a pension through either or actually it's through CalPERS, and I think the police have something slightly separate. But we had an issue with our pension obligation where we were funded at about 69%, and generally that's not a good number. But considering the fact that with the interest rates being at historic lows, council made the step to bond those some of that pension obligation out, and so we bonded couple hundred million, I think it's 200 million. And what that's basically going to do is that raises our percentage of unfunded liability from 69%, where we're now 85% funded. So only a 15% unfunded, which is about what the state recommends. And what that's going to do is that's going to create a savings for the city of over $65 million to help with funding other things throughout the city. We have our bond rating because of our financial stability. We had our bond rating increase from it was A plus. I think it's AA now, and we've done a lot of work with our public art installations throughout the city, especially in the downtown area and over here in the by the theater. So some of the other things we've been working on, we have our Rancho Sports Complex. So this was one of the first things that when I was on council, this was kind of one of the bigger projects that we had. And before I forget, since there, I do have in the audience Ivan Sulik, who works with Supervisor Janice Hahn. And so if I get any, if there's any questions, please, if I can't answer it, Ivan hopefully can answer it, and if not, we promise to get back to you on that. But related to that, the reason why I brought Ivan up is part of the process of getting this sports complex going. It's a 5-acre sports complex to help free up some of our other parks in the city to allow for regular use. So this is going to be a lot of our sports teams that are for AYSO and the soccer clubs that are in the city. They'll have access to this to play soccer, football, lacrosse. And so this is right by St. Pius, St. Matthias on Gardendale. And it's a 5-acre sports complex that we broke ground on it 2 months ago, back in March, so 3 months ago. And it should hopefully be open by November is what we're shooting for. Also, during this time, we've made sure that we've tried to take care of our residents. A lot of mental health issues. I don't want to say they've just been happening. They've probably been there, but we've had more acknowledgement of these issues, and we want to do what we can to support our residents. So at the Barbara Riley Center, we do have twice a week times where teens can go in and talk to someone, free of charge. It's covered by the home and CBDG development block grants to cover the costs for these. But it's something that we do in the city to make sure that our residents are being taken care of as best as possible. So Public Works, so far this year, 9 miles of streets have been repaved. I know they've still got a few more miles that they're planning on doing. Generally, we're averaging about 15 miles a year, which is really good. When I first got on council, it was about 5 miles a year. So we're really doing what we can to make sure that the mileage or that our streets are getting repaved. We're doing as much as we can. We're actually, since we had a really good success with the bond for the pension obligation, we're looking at actually bonding into being able to fix more of our streets as well. So we have our SB1 funds that come in, our Measure R funds, Measure M funds, gas tax funds that we use to pay for our streets. And so what we're looking to do is bond against those to actually get us more money up front so we can take care of more of our streets in the city. Illegal dumping has been a larger problem with the pandemic. It's something we've worked very hard to keep our streets as clean as possible. With CalMet, who's been helping us dispose of a lot of this. I know CalMet has picked up about 73 tons. We've picked up a little bit over 200 tons of trash since the pandemic started. So these are usually like your bulky item things. People are leaving couches or mattresses and that type of stuff. We want to make sure that residents know that they can report those things to the city, and I'll get into that later on in my presentation. But we do have those issues, and we want to make sure that we're taking care of them. We've also worked on creating an affordable housing subcommittee. So I believe that is Councilmember Trujillo and Mayor Frometa that are on that subcouncil. And so they're going to be looking, during that time, they're discussing, how we can incorporate more affordable housing in the city of Downey. Police department, we've had kind of with the pandemic, people are kind of going, staying more in their homes, but you have a lot of, since the streets are kind of more wide open, we've been having issue with street racing, a bigger issue than what's normal. So we've asked our police department to really focus on some of these issues with that. We've had over 221 citations over the past couple of months, 5 arrests, 7 impounded vehicles, just related to the street racing and that in the city, 364 department-wide citations, and one other thing that actually I've been personally afflicted. So a couple weeks ago, I had my catalytic converter stolen out of one of our cars. But one thing that we are trying to do to help curb that is offering etching of the catalytic converters, because the one thing when they go to recycle them, they need to have proof of that catalytic converter being, from a car that they own. And with etching the VIN number on the catalytic converter, that makes it a little bit harder for those that are stealing them to be able to recycle them. Reduction in accidents over the past so 2-year study, so that's 1920, 372, 2021, 220. So we've been working with trying to increase the amount of police involvement to make sure that our streets are as safe as possible, trying to do what we can to make sure our intersections are monitored, or not monitored, but the traffic signals are done the right way to help reduce as much traffic collisions as possible. And then one other thing that from our fire department, so they have an ISO rating Class 1. So for insurance purposes, and let me go to my notes on that one because I know that was... So I know that's pretty good, because that's basically only 1% of all fire departments in the nation have that classification. So basically, it's the Insurance Services Office, and they create the ratings for the fire departments in the surrounding communities, and they basically calculate how well the fire departments are equipped to put out fires in that community. So with our fire department, with our fire department, we're really proud of the work that they do. We want to make sure that they have what they need to take care of our residents. And because of our work over the past 60 years, they've been able to earn a Class 1 rating from the ISO. All right, so Measure S. So pretty much back in 2016, Measure S was passed. It was a half-cent sales tax to help fund police, fire, roads, parks. With what we've done with that, we're pretty much coming to the conclusion of that work for Measure S. So with Measure S, I think the only 2 things that were left are the Fire Station 2 and 4, and they are, if they're not open, they're pretty close to being open. Those are the last 2 projects. But with that bump in money, we've redone all 4 of our fire stations. The library is done. Civic Center, we did the firefighters memorial outside. We've done 7 of our parks. We've hired 10 new permanent police officers, and I can't see the bottom part, but I know we've done other parts with fire department and ambulance employees as well. But again, it's one of those things that we wanted to make sure that, it's tough for a city to kind of come and say, hey, can we raise your taxes? And then, when you say yes, then that's even, something more to us, because now we got to make sure that we do what we say we're going to do and not just waste the money. And so we've had, an oversight committee to help make sure that those funds are spent correctly. We've done all of our park, or not all of our, a majority of our parks. We've done our fire stations. We've redone those. Basically, we said what we're going to do. So thank you for allowing us to use that money for those purposes. And so some of the pictures from those parks as well. So the library, if you haven't been in the library, they did a tremendous job there. It's really state of the art. All right, so COVID-19. So I kind of talked a little bit about COVID-19 at the beginning with the masks and that came down pretty much today with the mask requirements not being required. And the governor signed an emergency declaration saying that if you're vaccinated, you don't have to have the masks on in public spaces. So that part's not really covered in what I have, but some of what we did throughout the pandemic. So we've done 4 distribution events that served about 10,000 households. We distributed about 65,000 senior meals to about 108 seniors per week. We've done drive-by events, virtual enrichment videos. And then also, one thing we want to do is make sure that some of our senior residents who might not have the ability to get out and do things, we want to make sure that we're following up with them, make sure that we were checking up on them, make sure everything was okay. So we would make an average of 200 calls a week, give or take. We do personal home visits twice a week. We also have free Wi-Fi for the students that weren't able to, or that needed to access online their schoolwork. You could come by close to the library, access that free Wi-Fi. The transit rides were free, and we've also offered personal protective equipment to those businesses that needed help with that. Current as of May 21st, it was 62% vaccination rate in the city. I think that's up to about 65% as of now. I know we had the large drive-through site at the county property off of Imperial Highway and by the County Office of Education. They just recently closed that down because basically the need for the mass vaccinations weren't there. They're still offering more smaller sites to get vaccinations. So if you haven't had your vaccinations, I encourage you to do it. As much, people tell me, there's no chips. They're not inserting DNA in you. I don't know how else to put it, but I do recommend that you get it. If anything, just so we don't have to wear these all the time. But with that said, I encourage the vaccinations. I know if you go to myturn.gov, I believe that's where you go to in California to find out to make a vaccination shot appointments. All right. Some of the things we did during the pandemic as well, when it came to our businesses, we wanted to make sure that our businesses were taken care of. A lot of them, especially your restaurants, for portions of this pandemic time, they pretty much couldn't operate. When they could operate, it was an outdoor setup that we, I'll get into in a little bit, but we did offer business assistance grants, and that was pretty much an online setup where they could just apply online, we'd review, and then they could qualify for whatever grants that they needed. And so some of what we did, so we had about $750,000 worth of funds available, $125,000 for small business grants. We did $60,000 for our restaurant parklet program. We opened up the temporary dining outdoors, and so during if you have parking lot space, you could use some of that space for your outdoor dining program to help with those businesses to get them the funds that they need and allow them to hire back their employees that they had to lay off at the time. And then on the flip side of that, one thing that I wanted to make sure that we did is we took care of our residents who needed assistance with rents. So we did a rental assistance program where it was a grant, or not a grant, but like we'd pay a couple months of rent for those residents. They just had to apply and they'd be able to get the money. Some of the other information that we have up here, so we have housing.gov. So if there's rent relief through the state, we have some of this information here. What I'll do with this, because this is kind of really heavy to read, on my Facebook page, I'll get the screenshots of the stuff with all the information, and we will go ahead and have that up for display. And I'm sure most of this stuff is available at the City of Downey website anyhow. I will ask about that. I think that has been done. I don't know if they're doing it every week, but I think that has been done at certain points in time, but I'll ask about that. And a few other informations there. I know we have a low to moderate housing available, so there's a few phone numbers there. Also low to moderate housing for seniors, numbers there as well. Again, I'll have that. I'll make sure we put that up on my personal Facebook page, and I'm sure the city has that up as well. Okay, so let me kind of step back, because I think the reason why a lot of you are here is what I'm about to cover next. So let me kind of just step back, tell a story, and then you can rip me to shreds, and that's fine. So as a council member, a lot of we're assigned to different governmental organizations to kind of be the Downey representative. For myself, one of the organizations I'm part of is SCAG, and the Southern California Association of Governments. I'm a regional council member. I represent the cities of Downey and Southgate. So one of the things that SCAG does is they work. It's a 6-county planning organization. It's the largest metropolitan planning organization in the United States. So they cover Ventura, LA, Orange, Riverside, San Bernardino, and Imperial counties. So what they were tasked to do is to come up with the plan based off of all the information that they gathered to determine what amount of housing we would need over the next 8 years to zone for to help with our housing crisis that we have. They came up with the number of about 430-something thousand, give or take. So they took that. Regional council approved that number, made sense. We sent it off to the state, and the state, the HCD said, that's a good number, but we're going to give you 1.3 million. So they pretty much just arbitrarily said, you didn't do enough housing. So that's now got passed back to SCAG to figure out, okay, so we planned for 450,000 units across 6 counties. Now we have to plan for 1.3 million units across 6 counties. So part of the reasoning with that was, okay, where are we going to put this at? Because you have cities that like the cities that were, Downey, Southgate, where they're pretty much built out. There are small plots of land here and there, but pretty much we're built out. And then you have Imperial County, you have Riverside County, you have San Bernardino County, where, geez, there's land for miles. Just put 1 million houses out there. Who cares? But this was something that I kind of was not really sure of why they would put all of them out there, but that's not really what they did. Our number for Downey was 2,750 units. And that's a pretty big increase for us, because over the past 5 years, we've put in 379 units. So that was Downey the past 5 years, 379 units. And they said, okay, you're going to do 2,750. Okay, we'll do what we can. We'll try our best, and we'll do that. And that was the plan going through. And then at a regional council meeting, it was the very last council meeting before everything went sideways. So it was the beginning of March of 2019, where we were kind of like, hey, should we hand bump? Should we, everybody's kind of hesitant about there. But at that meeting, they kind of presented this plan to say, well, let's put housing where the jobs are. Let's kind of increase more. Let's take away some of those housing units that are going to Riverside, San Bernardino, and Imperial counties, and let's bring them into LA and Orange County where the jobs are at. And theoretically, that makes sense. I mean, when we're not looking at how many homes here there, in a theoretical sense, that makes sense. You want the jobs and the homes close together, so you reduce the amount of commuting. But they didn't take into consideration the fact that some cities pretty much are already built out, and some cities already have issues with being, filled. But you had members from LA Council, so each council member in the city of LA gets their own seat. You had the mayor who gets his own seat of LA County. So the mayor of city of LA, Eric Garcetti, he came to the meeting, came up with the idea, let's do all of this. And then our number all of a sudden went from 2,700 to 6,625. 6,525. So I'm like, this is great, but where do you expect me to do that? And so basically, you had a lot of cities in Orange County that were really unhappy. You had a lot of cities in the southeast area, so Southgate, Cerritos, Bellflower, and a lot of Huntington Beach was upset, Anaheim, Santa Ana. A lot of these cities were upset, and rightfully so, because they kind of got their numbers, thrown way out of whack because some state organization just randomly tripled our numbers. And then the mayor of LA and some of the people he works with on his council decided, hey, let's switch it around and put more jobs in this area, or more homes in this area. So we kind of complained about it. We said, this isn't right. We fought. We didn't win the vote, basically because they said, well, you can appeal. So if you're not happy with your number, you can appeal this. So I voted no. We still appealed it. Every appeal, actually, I think one appeal was given, and funny story with that. And if you listen to the last, I think one of the last council meetings, our community development directors mentioned it. But basically, all these cities came in and tried to appeal the number. Like, look, where we don't have the place for this, and they said nope, denied. Pico Rivera got approved for some of the reason why is because they actually planned to build homes on the dam, the Whittier Narrows Dam. That was part of their plan. We're going to put homes on the Whittier Narrows Dam, and that's okay. And so they got approved because of that. So, but they didn't get, they didn't, it was like maybe 20 homes or something that they got reduced. So it wasn't a big thing, but that was pretty much it. So we're stuck here in the city of Downey with 6,500 homes that we have to plan for over the next 8 years. Now, the city doesn't build the homes. We plan for the homes. So basically what we are now being told to do by the state is you need to, in your zoning plan, allow for the building of another 6,500 additional units. So what is a housing unit? It could literally be any type of place where somebody lives. It could be an ADU. ADUs count. It could be, condos, apartments, pretty much any type of place where you live at, that it would count. And so we're kind of looking through saying, okay, well, we got to start approving some of these ADUs. And with the ADUs, they already came down a year ago saying you can pretty much build an ADU, accessory dwelling unit. Basically, the granny flats is kind of what they call them, basically homes for somebody who wants a little bit more privacy, but still wants to be close to their family, I guess. But they're allowing for that, and we can't do much other than say, okay, well, is it safe? Okay, and that's pretty much it. So long as what they're building is safe, they don't have to allow for any parking or anything else. Just so long as they're building a safe structure, we have to allow it. So I started getting emails about, fast forward to a couple of weeks ago, I started getting emails about 700 units somewhere. And I think I emailed you or somebody I was getting, like, I'm not aware of 700 units. And I truly was not aware of 700 units. And then they said, okay, well, here's this public notice. And I'm like, WTF? I mean, I actually said it out because I was kind of upset. And like, I didn't know about this. So so literally I took the picture of what was sent to me. I went to my city manager and like, WTF? I didn't know about this. And so part of what's happening with all of that is this is part of that 6,000 or 6,600 units that are being done in the city of Downey. I'll get into that plan a little bit more, but that's kind of why I think a few of you are here about that. So let me kind of move on with this. I kind of covered a lot of this already in extreme depth. So I know we've done a couple of surveys for our housing element already. I think there's another one coming up. So at the Planning Commission, I know that's going to be probably sometime June, probably next month or yeah. So they have to do 2 meetings because for legality notice. But I think it's going to be the first. Okay, so then it's the first and second meeting in July for the Planning Commission. But I can't read that, but yeah, geez, small type. But it looks pretty. Seriously, so they did poll some of the people that were at those housing element meetings, how they felt about different types of housing and where we could put it at. Because here's the thing, we need to be able to zone for these types of things. Now, if somebody doesn't want to build it, then they don't want to build it. But we have to allow for the zoning of it and say, if you want to build it, here it is. But we do have some guidance as to where would be the least objectionable place to kind of put things in, and in generalities. So like one of the things that were kind of mentioned that was more positive was along major corridors like Imperial, Firestone, Lakewood, Paramount. One of the least desirable was properties owned by churches. Usually a lot of your bigger churches kind of have large parking lots, and some of them have kind of too large of a parking lot. They don't have the members that attend the churches as much as they used to, so their parking lots tend to get unused. And so, one thing we were looking at, well, maybe we could put something there, and that tend to be the least desirable of that survey group. Now, I'm not saying that's what we're going with. That's just kind of what we've been surveyed now. And before, I will get to the point where I give you I'm kind of making you listen to me a little bit more, but I will get you to the point where I tell you where we can complain or praise or whatever you want to say about the plan that's coming in. So, but these are some of the things that were kind of mentioned, and that's pretty small. I'll make sure we get this up on my Facebook page as well. Okay, so workshops that have happened. The Planning Commission is going to be in July. It's going to come in front of council in probably mid to late August. So any of those times that it comes up for a public meeting, you're welcome to come. Let us know how you feel. Whatever it may be. Someday. There we go. Okay, so this is the part that we're with 700 units that we were talking about. So this is the South Rancho campus. So basically, is there a dot here? Yeah. Okay. So this part right here, that's Imperial. Down here is Gardendale. The word block here, that's right here. That is where the sports complex is at, and then part right here the Rose Slope barn. So just to kind of give you an idea where everything's kind of situated now. So the part of the specific plan that's there is covered in the yellow. So everything in the yellow is kind of what they're talking about as far as the specific plan. The red star is where the Eco Rapid line. So if the West Santa Ana branch is kind of what it's been known as in the public. I believe they gave it a name, the S line, but I'm not sure on that. But that's going to be coming up the metro probably July, August to determine the route that's going to take into LA. So it'll pretty much, we know that this station is going to be right here, right off of Gardendale. We know that pretty much it's going to go, we pretty much know the plan up through once it hits the blue line or the A line. And there, that it's got a couple of options to go. It can go it can hook towards 7th and Metro, or it can go to Union Station. That's kind of where the two options that we're looking at right now with that. But as far as this plan here, the idea of putting some of the housing over here, one, if you drive by, most of it is land. It's, just land. Does that make some of you feel any better? No, of course not. It doesn't. But obviously, we're low-hanging fruit. I mean, not to be rude about it, but with that, that's still only going to be that's 700 units out of the 65 that we need to zone for. Now, as far as this plan here, there's a lot of people kind of talking about it on both sides. Like, there are some people coming to our city saying, "Why is it not 1,400?" And then there are some that are saying, obviously, why are you putting this here? Why don't you put it somewhere else? There's a lot of that. But as far as some of the details in the plan, Ivan, can you give a quick synopsis of some of that? Of kind of generally what we're planning here?
Well, as of right now, there really is no plan.
Okay.
Other than the 80 units of veterans housing
Okay.
at the former American Legion site, there is no plan at the moment that the CEO or the supervisor put in any housing or some type of transit-oriented development. Like the councilmember was saying, this merely is an outline of what we can do on this property. Nothing. Oh, thank you. Nothing has been looked at this moment in time. Possibly as time goes on, the supervisor and the CEO will start talking and seeing what is possible here. Housing, some type of community center, retail. As of right now, there is no plan that we have.
Okay.
Other than the 80 units at the veterans housing and our county buildings that we're looking to build over there.
Okay. So.
What do you mean by the 80 units for the veterans? What do you mean by that?
80 units. So the development where the former American Legion site used to be, right on the corner triangle.
Right. Hold on. Yeah, we'll get to that.
I believe it's on
right here. So that should be, so right here is where the Legion Hall was at.
Right.
So this is Garfield right here.
It's going to be
And then
80,
Gardendale.
80 units for formerly homeless veterans and veteran families.
So now we have half. I live on Quill right there. So I'm concerned about the homeless situation. That's why I'm here. But now we have half, which is less than a mile away from this. And you're also putting homeless here. And you're also putting them on the corner of Quill and Reeves. The county and the city's got to be out of their mind. Three homeless units within 2 blocks of where I live. I'm sure other people are here for the same reason. Part of those units are going to be mentally ill. Well, I got to ask the question to council in here too as well. What are you guys doing about that? What are you guys doing about them bringing homeless people right next to us? Homeless people coming out of county mental institutions.
Well,
Up away from the park with children in it and across the street from a senior center.
Well, you have to remember that not all of these people are going to have mental health issues, for one. For two, the ones that do, through Measure H, which is the tax that each of us pays to combat homelessness, we provide services that are attached to every unit. So if an individual does need mental health services, workforce services, health services, they do get that as they are there, for one. For two, we're going to have families, so those individuals are going to have kids. We're going to have some individuals with kids, others who are going to be homeless senior who serve this country, and then others are going to need a little bit more help. But we're going to be there to support them, and they won't be homeless anymore. They're going to call this their neighborhood. They're going to be your neighbors now. It's much different than a shelter when people are coming in and out. You don't know where they're coming from. They could come from downtown, and then we shift them from one shelter to another shelter to another shelter. But this is going to be permanent housing. They're going to be your neighbors, and we're going to be there to support them.
I guess I'm more concerned with the one on corner Quill and Reeves, and I'll direct this question to the council. And I wanted to mention.
Yeah, I'll tell you. So I will stay here for as long as people have questions. I do want to kind of let me finish through this, and I will stay until whenever. So
I'll be here all night too.
so basically that's kind of the synopsis. So the veterans housing is something that's been brought up in the past. This is something that's going to get started on relatively soon, but I don't have the exact. Do we have a time on that?
So once the specific plan ER is done, I think in approximately a couple months.
Okay.
The moment this is completed, our developer will then start the financing process, the entitlement process, and then that's when they'll start. Once they get everything together, they get the financing, they get the entitlements, and
Okay.
then they'll start construction.
Okay, and that's not for that's for the veterans housing unit on the corner of Garfield and Gardendale. And then, yeah, I talked about the metro line that's going through there, so, yeah.
That's not Downey, isn't that Southgate?
That's technically, and don't ask me how or why or what guy decided, let's cut this corner and do it that. But technically, that little corner here, keep pressing.
I heard about
Okay.
that, but I drove over there the other night and it
Yeah, so that little square there, that little triangle there, I don't know, square. That technically is down, even though it should be Southgate, or that's technically Downey.
Across the street to the side, everything's.
Yeah.
Except buildings.
Yeah, so let me go back. Okay, so nice pretty picture about how the line could possibly look, or the station at Gardendale could look. One concern that I've had with that is parking. So when Metro came to, so one of the other things I get to do being on council, I serve on the Eco Rapid Transit Board, and so that's an advocacy group that represents the cities along the West Santa Ana branch line. When that plan came out saying, okay, we're gonna have the stations here, this and that, you don't need any parking there. And I again, WTF again. So I just kind of had to say, what are you thinking? What's going to happen now is people are going to use this station because it's going to be a lot easier to get to than the one that you're doing in Paramount, and then the one that you're doing in Southgate off of Atlantic and Firestone. You're going to have a lot of people using this, and even though you don't think they'll use it, they're going to realize that this is going to be an easy to use station because it's not a lot of traffic to get there. But then when you don't incorporate parking for those people that want to use it, where are they going to park? They're going to park on the street first. That's going to get filled up pretty quickly. Then where are they going to park? They're going to start parking in the at the sports complex. And then where are they going to park? They're going to park across the street and all around and neighbors. And as much as I want to say, well, that's somebody else's city, it's not the point. The point is it's going to create an issue that you can easily fix. And so that's one thing that we're working on with Metro to get additional parking at that site to allow for the users of that line to be able to park there, use the line, and not have to park it in the residential streets. But that's a pretty picture, I guess. So. All right, so this is where the veterans housing with the wraparound services. That's the site where that's going to be at. We've talked about that a little bit already. And another picture of the corner there. So that's the actual view from there. So yeah, Garfield is this street, and then Gardendale is the
In one of the couple months that's actually rained.
yeah, of course.
After a rain.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's how politics works. Yeah, no, right? No, they did so, but so it's taller now.
Part of it, they moved half of it and not the other half.
Okay, so I'll bring that up to staff tomorrow.
On the far side, you ever have?
One of the trees divide the lot in half. There's trees down the middle of it. I
I'll bring that up to staff tomorrow.
I will, no, I'll contact CEO, we'll have it noted down.
Okay, good. But again, yeah, we take the pictures at the right time, so I apologize for. Okay, now the moment you've all been waiting for. So to actually see the documents for this plan, it's 1,000 pages of legalese. But we do want to make sure that we give you an opportunity to say how you feel, truly how you feel. And WTF is okay with this. But so first of all, it's available online. So if you want to take a look at the plan, the website's up there, and I'll post this up on my Facebook page as well. If you want to, Jim and I were. He mentioned to me, I can't look at this stuff online. I need to see it in person. So we have it. Yeah. So we have it at the library. We have it at the Barbara Riley Center. We have it here at the city clerk's office and the planning office. So upstairs on the planning counter here, or third floor at the city clerk's office. You can you can take a look at it there. Also, if public comment and you can't see the name, is there a way we can fix the screen because you can't see the email address?
Stop talking.
No, it's not there. It's below. It's at the bottom of the screen. So it's literally no. Believe me, it's not me. I mean, it's. I get the fact that it's me a lot of the time, but this time it's honestly not me. So it's again, I'm going to have that taken, but it's. I want to say it's. Let me. You know what? I have actually copies here. So let me look here. Okay. G Arola. So GARREOLA at downeyca.org. So that's the email to send any questions to. Gosh darn it. Oh, okay, that was okay. There we go.
And the meetings are at 6:30, both the 7th, right here.
I'm just trying to shut up so that'll get off. There we go.
I see it.
Are those pages, is that like about 5,000?
I'm gonna say about
Oh, okay, that's better. Years ago, okay.
we're still gonna go blind looking at it all, but it's there.
Can I ask
Okay.
a question about this? With those 1,000 pages, are they similar to the ones that came out before COVID? There was, had meetings over at Barbara J. Riley, and I know you were there at those meetings. Is it pretty much the same thing?
No, because I think when we were at the Barbara Riley Center, we were talking, if I recall right, that was about the plans for. Let me go back a couple. Yeah. So okay. So with that, so they're going to be building offices, and I think. Okay, let's go. All right, good times. Okay, so I think the offices are going to be up and is it just above here? I think, or is it this top part of the yellow?
Yeah, but right there.
Okay, so all in this. Okay, so that was mostly just what the county's planning on for offices. So they're going to be building offices and a parking structure for those offices. So that was that meeting, not the whole plan, just that part of it.
Well, the new paperwork has not only that plan, but also the 700 dwellings that units.
Yes,
Gonna be a lot to read.
yes. Okay. All right. So there's that. Oh, wow. Okay, that was another pretty picture there. Okay. Yeah, that's slightly off because the line wouldn't go parallel to the street there, but it's another pretty picture. Okay. Yeah, they just, yeah, palm trees, and let's make it look pretty. So there we go. Okay. There we go. Okay, so we talked about that. All right. Okay, so before I stop talking and give you the opportunity to throw stuff at me. Let me go ahead and just kind of tell you about some of the things that we have going on in the city. So first and foremost, the Downey app. So I highly recommend that you download this on your phone. If there's an issue you have in the city, whether it be a coyote sighting, you can report usage of illegal fireworks, shopping carts, illegal dumping, graffiti, whatever it may be. It's free on the at the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. Download it on your phone. You can do everything from your phone. It works pretty quickly. Like when I'm out walking and I see things, I can just kind of snap a picture, do it. It takes me about 2 to 3 minutes, and it's sent. And then once staff gets a hold of it, usually it's taken care. Like graffiti is taken care of in a day. Dumping is usually taken care of usually in 2 days. So it basically it cuts out, like, if you don't want to do that and you want to send it to me, that's fine. I get it when I see it, and then I send it off, and there's kind of that lag. But when you do it there, it goes right to the person that's going to take care of it. So it's a lot more efficient, and I highly recommend that you download it. All right, illegal fireworks. So this is like couple meetings ago, I mentioned that I wanted the city to start looking into banning all fireworks. Now, how you feel about that? My issue is I'm just frustrated with the illegal fireworks usage, and I'm not saying that banning all fireworks is going to be the answer, but in talking with our police chief, both of them, so our former chief and our current chief, they've said that it would be a lot easier for us to be able to find the ones using illegal fireworks if we had the ones using the safe and sane fireworks not able to use them. And I can kind of see the logic in it. But then, you have the other issue of fundraising, because and I've worked fireworks booths too, for sister cities, for Warren Band, and they put in a lot of work to have those. And they also make a lot of money for their organizations, probably more, for a lot of the organizations in our city, that fundraiser funds a majority of what they do. So I'm not trying to say we need to stop helping I'm just tired of it. One thing I do want to encourage, though, is if you see your neighbor doing it, please, use the app, call the police. During this 4th of July, we're going to have a lot of people, or a lot of police out. So usually what our procedure is, we have our fire departments out and about, generally handling a lot of the making sure everybody's safe. Then we have our police who are in undercover. So basically they're in unmarked cars, they're not wearing police uniforms, but they're out to make sure that people that are launching, that we catch them. And one issue that I remember having when we had this discussion 4 or 5 years ago was the idea of the fine. So like a first offense, they would give every time, because, well, if you took a second offense, well, it was the next day. Well, that's still a first offense. It was some weird thing where they wouldn't really do a second offense or a third offense. No, we need to change the timing of that. So we worked on, except for a year. So if you're caught within a year, then that you can get first offense, second offense. So that way the fines increase. My hope is that we don't have to deal with this illegal fireworks usage, because that really is the problem. And I've had, when I announced that, I had people yell at me like, "What are you trying to do? This is America. We have the right to do this, and we want to do it safely. Why are you punishing us?" And I get that. But then I also had the other side saying, "Thank you for bringing this up. We're tired of this. We want it gone." And so I don't know if I have the answer, but I do want to make sure that at least, whatever the residents want, this honestly, this is probably something that might have to go to a vote, not of council, because I don't think I'd feel comfortable making that type of a decision here. I think that would be something we would have to consider putting on a ballot. Now, I don't know if we're going to do that. That would be up to the council to decide that, not just me, but that's something we would probably start looking at. So quickly, yes.
Our people, the most of the neighbors together work like this that fires? Because it's very dangerous and many things happen and some house burning or happen a lot of
No, no, I
happen
know.
stuff.
I agree with you, and that's why that's why we're going to have a large detail out during the 4th of July holiday to make sure that we can minimize those types of issues. I mean, I remember like 2 years ago we had the fire over off of Lakewood, right behind the senior center that's there, and they have those Italian cypresses that are really tall, and you get them anywhere close to heat and they just light up and so those caught on fire and we had to evacuate the whole area there just to make sure everybody was safe. And that was during the 4th of July when everybody's launching stuff up. And so that kind of affected our detail to go catch people. But yeah, no, it's a serious issue and I want to do what we can to make sure we stop that. So 1, 2, 1.
I just want to say something. I have reported because my neighbor right next to me, and it's not even near 4th of July. It happens, it could happen in February, March, and they're not fireworks. They're explosions like bombs.
No, so you
And
probably
I-
live right behind me because it's
And
the
I'm
same
like so
person.
frustrated right now because I have called the police and I want to remain anonymous because I don't want to have problems with the neighbors.
No, I get that.
And
Yeah.
so by the time the police gets there, they don't do anything about it because it's not happening when they get there.
And,
So-
and that's kind of the problem with how we can catch it. So like with illegal fireworks. So like just as an example. So let's say it's the 4th of July and I'm gonna do something where I'm gonna do the illegal fireworks. I'm also gonna have legal fireworks. And the reason why is because I can use that as a cover. So, and this is kind of what they do, and I've seen it. So, like during the actual holiday, I have these legal fireworks that are here. I have my illegal ones kind of hidden, but if they see them, they're not on my person. So, what the police can do if they see them, they can seize them. But if they don't see the person actually doing it, we have to catch them doing it. Now, if we see them doing it and we see them lighting it off, and they just caught somebody doing it a couple days ago. They just posted online. They just caught some knucklehead doing it in the middle of the day, and they caught him and they gave him one of the $2,000 fine tickets. But it's still difficult for us to do because we have to see them do it, and that's the other issue with the we can't just say, oh well, we saw it go off. We think you did it, so you did it. So we actually have to observe it.
I know they do it because I can smell
No, and
it's happening in their backyard.
and I get that. And that they actually have to physically see it because they can't, I mean, unless somebody were to say, like you, for instance, and I know this is, I'm not going to say, but if you say, I saw that person do it, then they can do it. But how many neighbors want to do that? And I get that. Like, I don't know if I'd feel comfortable doing it. But that's kind of how difficult it is to actually catch them. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But usually during the holiday weekend, when we usually give, I think the year we had the fire brought up earlier a couple of years ago, we had 50 citations. The year before that, I think it was 80 something. So we're out there giving them as much as possible when we catch them. And I'm hoping this year we're going to get a report on what they're going to do again this year at Tuesday's council meeting. So, Joey, yeah.
Given that you mentioned about police officers using unmarked vehicles in the city of Downey, and given that California is strict on not enforcing any stops or any vehicle patrol on unmarked vehicles, should the city of Downey be engaging in what could potentially be very liable for our tax dollars in our community? And just to finalize that, if people can't identify who's stopping them, does that pose a threat to the community as well?
So with the unmarked vehicles, we're not making stops per se. So we're not pulling a vehicle over. So they drive by, they can see it, but then they call the actual officers in the marked vehicles say, okay, we saw, Officer so-and-so saw you, we're going to make the arrest. So it's not that they're just kind of pulling people over and kind of, I get what you're saying, because there's a lot of people kind of, I don't want to say a lot, but there are people that drive around impersonating police and doing things that, of that nature, and we don't want to get into those types of situations, but we use the police in the unmarked vehicles to actually see what's going on. And then we use the marked vehicles with the officers that are easily identifiable to write the citations.
My last comment to that would be, I understand what you've been told that the police do. I have video footage that I would like to show you at a later time, and perhaps we can discuss how we can protect our community more.
I'll be more than happy to look at it. All right. So last one, and then related to fireworks, I'll move on. I got a couple more slides, and then I'll stay for everything.
Oh.
Not ready.
Thank you. Okay, so maybe the city already does this, but people can report anonymously. This address is lighting out fireworks on a daily basis. If that address maybe reaches a threshold of, 5 calls, the unmarkeds can do a stakeout on these houses and maybe start catching them that way. I mean, there are targeted areas in this city where it's repeatedly happening, like Apollo Park. I don't know why we can't catch those guys. I mean, just sit outside the park every night and you're going to catch them eventually. So is there some kind of system like that?
I'll be honest with you, I don't have the answer to that, but I have business cards as well. Email me, let me know. I'll definitely look into it. But that, I don't have the answer to that. That seems like a reasonable thing to do. I would have to get the answer for you for that, though. So, all right. Okay. So I'll now we can do some fun, happy stuff for a couple minutes till you throw stuff at me. But so we have now that pandemic we're at the tail end of it, we're starting to open up with a lot of the things we're doing in the city. So Camp Downey started June 1st. It's they're at Furman Park and Golden Park. You can call the Parks and Rec Department for more information about that. Also, Summer Aquatics. So we've now opened the pool across the street over here for swim lessons and for public swim. More information on that, you can also call the Parks and Rec Department as well. With the new library opening, we have our summer reading program. It says Downey Library Beanstack.org. Let me make sure that was the. So to get your kids enrolled in the summer reading program, that would be the website for that. Yeah, DowneyLibrary.beanstack.org. So, for the kids for that. I know the Space Center, so they've been doing a lot of stuff virtually with virtual open houses, virtual field trips for the schools. They're going to be opening to the public relatively soon, and the Rocket Fever event will be in August as well. And more information, you can go to visit columbiaspacescience.org. Coffee with the Cop will be happening July 14th. I don't think they've got a location just yet, but they'll be getting that pretty soon. So we were doing a lot of these, or they were doing a lot of these before the pandemic hit. Now that things are kind of winding down, they're going to start this up again. So July 14th, 6 to 8 p.m., and that will be at a location to be determined. Keep Downey beautiful. So the first cleanup that we're going to have is going to be this Saturday. The address on the first one, June 19th, is slightly wrong. It's 9020 Firestone. So it's corner of Lakewood and Firestone, and the Big Lots parking lot. That's where they're going to meet at this Saturday. Cleanup starts at 9. It'll end at 10. Recommend you get there like 15 minutes before to get equipment and such. And National Night Out, we had to skip it last year due to the pandemic. We're going to do National Night Out this year. We'll have it in the Civic Center out here. That'll be Tuesday, August 3rd. And with that, go ahead and get your tomatoes ready. So let's see how unscathed I can get. So I'll just start calling a couple people out. I'll answer questions. Please wait for the microphone. I do have a couple of people that emailed questions. I think some of them are, one of them is kind of related to the topic, and the other one I think is going to come up, but I'll bring those up as well. So I'll make sure I read those and answer them as best as I can anyway. So
I don't know if this is misinformation. I'm Jim Fountain. Hi, my name is Jim Fountain. I've been a resident since 1974, and I live right next door to Rancho Los Amigos on a cul-de-sac on the south side where all this development's going to take place. And Councilman Ashton has done an outstanding job of keeping us informed. But one thing I got confused about, and maybe I saw it on Facebook or I saw it in the Downey Patriot, was this whole thing about the 700 housing units that are going to be at Downey. Now, we've got Ivan here, and he's also very knowledgeable. So let's look at it for a minute. From what I read, these 700 units don't count toward the 6,525 units that we're supposed to, according to the state, put in Downey, that they're on county property, so it doesn't count. Now, maybe you could clarify what I thought I read.
I'm going to say that I believe since they're within the city of Downey limits, even though it's owned by the county, it's still our number. And the reason why I'm saying that is because, like, if somebody else builds something in the city, whether, not on there, but if somebody else builds something in the city, that would count for our number. Just because the county owns a property, it's still within Downey city limits. It's not unincorporated LA County. So if it was unincorporated LA County, I could see how that would be towards LA County. But this isn't unincorporated. This is city of...
I'm saying go higher.
Well, again, I'm not going to go there, but that number should count towards us because it's our city. So even though the county owns the property, it is our city limit. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Happy, I live right next door, and they're all going to be going through our housing tract, which only has 3 different entrances, and people like to take shortcuts, and that includes 3,000 county employees that are also moving in from ISD and probation
Yeah.
at the other end of Imperial. It's a nightmare.
Yeah. Okay, let me come here, and then, so 2, and then 3, and then 4. Okay, 5. Okay. And believe me, I'm lucky I can count that high at this age. So if I forget, just yell at me, let me know. So 6.
Okay, I'm somewhat confused. We were at the town hall that was held at the Space Center, and repeatedly, Mr. Sulik told us that the homeless veteran housing that's supposed to be built at Gardendale and Garfield did not count towards Downey's state mandated homeless housing. So if that doesn't go towards your homeless housing, then why is this 700 count as your city? Either it's all in or all out. It's either the stuff that is built in your city limits either counts towards your stuff or it doesn't.
I think there's a confusion between the arena numbers and the requirement of how much homeless housing each city has to have.
They want to hear you, Andrew.
Yeah. So the arena numbers are the 700. And so those homes, whatever the housing that counts there, that's part of our arena numbers. That counts towards us. Now, I think the numbers that we were talking about back then, I don't think I know they weren't related to the arena numbers because we just dealt with arena numbers in 2019, and that was before that because I think it was the end of my mayor's time, so that was 2018. So we hadn't developed those numbers yet. So it was probably towards the homeless housing. So it's two different sets of numbers.
Okay, it's two different sets of numbers, but this still goes back to when that housing is built at the corner of Garfield and Gardendale, is that going to count towards Downey's homeless housing? Or do you still have to build homeless housing within your city? Like the city of Southgate has Path that is right down the street from me. So what I'm saying is, I don't understand how in some things it can count towards what your city is mandated to do, and in other cases, it doesn't. Now, and I also like to address that he says this is 80 units of veteran housing. Well, the last time I looked and the last reports that I read over, the majority of that is low-income housing. Now, we thought we were going to get some little facility there for veterans, and it turns out it's a 4-story complex with no setbacks, and it is very few veterans. So don't be fooled by this is a veterans housing complex, because it's not. It is a low-income housing complex with a very few veterans. And I am tired of the veterans being sprinkled in on all these projects to make it palatable for the public.
Where did you see that?
Where did I see what? I saw this whole presentation. There's renderings of the building with the indoor courtyard and everything like that. I mean, I probably have them on my computer someplace. And that's the same meeting where you told me, it's my land, it's the county's land, and we will build on it what we want to.
And I remember that meeting, but like I said, in other subsequent meetings and conversations I had with you, the focus of that property is veterans and veteran families. That has not changed. That is the same today as it was before.
But that building is not going to be filled with 100% veterans. I mean, the previous mayor to him, I don't know why his name escapes me right
Rick
now.
Rodriguez?
Rick Rodriguez
Yeah.
stood there and looked in our faces repeatedly and told us it's going to be 100% veterans. He went on the news and made my city and my residents look like idiots, telling the news people that we didn't know what we didn't know. So, is that facility going to be the majority veterans, or is it going to be majority low income? Your goal.
Majority, yes.
So it's not a promise, it's not, you're not going to have, it's going to be 75% veterans and 25% low income. You're just going to say your goal. Well, my goal was to be a multimillionaire and a horse breeder,
Well,
but I didn't make
Our
it.
focus is to have that place be majority veterans or some families with some type of veteran type relation. Then the thing that
Oh, there,
we are
see, there we
unclear-
go. There we go.
And the thing
It
that-
gets watered down.
I don't.
My uncle's brother's sister
No,
was
no,
a
no, no, it doesn't
veteran
work.
in
No, whether-
World War
no,
II,
no, no, no,
so
no.
I'm entitled.
So
By that I
point of
mean one
order
of the
really quick,
spouses
so-
has to be a veteran.
So point of order, thank you. So I'm sure we can go on with that. I don't think that they're going to be doing like brothers, sisters, uncles, something or other, second cousin. I think it has to be like, you know, like husband that's a veteran with wife and kids. I think that, to me, when that's a family relate, that's what we're thinking. I don't think it's going to be, well, I know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who's it's not going to be, it has to be, like a veteran with family members. So immediate family, I think, is the best way I'm trying to say that. Now, I can't make that promise. I'm not the one that's going to run it. That's what I've been told. And that's what I would like to believe is going to happen. If something changes, if something goes sideways again, please let me know. And as much as I can say, please, I'm here for another year and a half and then I'm termed out. But for the time that I'm here, I can't promise you I'm going to give you the answer you like, but I promise I will at least do what I can to make sure that everything is done with what has been said will be done.
Well, it's just the same thing. Once the project is built, it's gonna get filled with somebody. And it's not gonna sit there empty. This is the problem we have. Right now, it's forming, there are 244 units of market rate parking being built. What if they can't rent those at market rate? Then it's gonna start filling it in with other groups of people. And that's my second thing. What type of housing is the 700 units gonna be? Is it low income housing? Is it market rate housing? I mean, if it's county property, I'm assuming that it's gonna be low income housing.
So from what I understand, basically, this is not a building document. This is a zone plan. So we're zoning to allow for the 700 units. We don't have anybody that's saying we're going to build it yet.
Right.
We're just saying what the purpose of this is to say we're going to make this land available for up to 700 units minus the 80 that's at the veteran site. So 620 units. So 620 units can be built on this site. Now, if some developer looks at it and says, I think I can do that and make some money, then I can start coming up with answers to, well, I'm going to build this, this, and that.
Okay. Is there any kind of stipulations to go along with that? Because there is a property at the corner of Gardendale and Paramount. It's an empty market. The city of Southgate bought that from the county. I think it was Board of Education or somebody. We were all excited. Yay. We're going to keep it out of another homeless housing thing. Problem was, it came with a stipulation that only affordable housing can be built there. So now we're stuck with another housing unit there. Are these properties and these developers that come in to this property on the Rancho South campus, is there gonna be this stipulation that they can build whatever they want? Or are they gonna have to build affordable housing? Or can they build luxury condos? Or can they build market rate stuff?
I'm going to tell you that I don't have the answer to that. So we haven't even approved whatever plan that is. So even if that were to be the case, where we stipulate that in the plan, then I would have, we haven't, council hasn't had that discussion yet. The planning commission hasn't had the discussion yet. So as much,
County has.
well, if,
Mr. Mayor, if I may, so those units can be anything from market rate units, affordable housing units, to homeless units. It just depends what the county wants to build. So it's not specifically only homeless, specifically only affordable housing. We could do market rate units should the county want to. Pertaining to, if we were
That's
to,
not what you guys are looking for. They're looking for,
well, no, I don't know what we're looking for right now. All I know is that.
I don't know why the county is building so much housing for the homeless when 95% of them that you go out and talk to don't want to be indoors. Just wasting money, building crap that nobody wants to live in.
so let me kind of interject here. So I'm going to tell you something. So I have 3 children. So 25, 23, and 19. So all adults, they all graduated. I literally was told by my oldest that he was moving out. Like, I'm proud of you. Great. I'm moving to Birmingham, Alabama because I can afford it there. WTF, right? So, but he has it all planned out. He knows, he's thought about, he can't move into anything close to reasonable in this market. He can't. When we say affordable housing, that's not necessarily slums. When I think of affordable housing, I think of housing that's made affordable so people who are at that level that didn't have the advantages that when you and I were working to be able to work a decent job that paid, a decent rate of pay with, and be able to buy a house for $200,000. That's not how it is today. Like $200,000 in this market, I'm either renting an ADU or buying an ADU, or I'm out in Coachella Valley or something way out there because it's not affordable. So when, affordable housing to me is not slums. It's housing that's not your typical, 3-bedroom, 2-bath suburbia type of home, with the lawn and whatever. That's, it's just tough for people to do that. And it broke my heart when he told me that that's the only place he has friends that are out there, but it broke my heart and hearing him say that, because I don't want to see my kids leave. They're my kids, but they can't live out here because it's unaffordable.
Well, I just had family move to South Carolina. They have
Same thing, right?
They have 4 children. They have a beautiful 2-story house in a beautiful neighborhood. And I'm telling you, they left here from Huntington Beach
Yeah.
because they wanted a better life. And there are
You know-
places all over the United States that people can move to. You can go buy a beautiful 5-bedroom house in some other state, but everybody insists on staying right here, even though they can't afford it, and then they cry, well, you need to help us somehow. Because I
The
want-
jobs are here, though. A lot of the jobs are here.
Never have a job there.
So.
I had another family member that moved to Texas, and in 2 weeks,
So
he had a job. It happens.
let me
And they left
let me circle around to other. I will come back. I told you I'll stay as long as we need to, but let me circle around. Let me just get, because I've had people. I've got like 6 and 7 deep, and I got to question 2, I think. So let me get, because let me do it, and I'll come to you. I think you're 7. So I think so. I think you were 2, right? Please tell me you have your numbers memorized, because I already forgot who it was. So 2.
So first I want to say thank you for clarifying that whole thing. I too have a 21-year-old who still lives with me, who doesn't want to live with me, but has no other option because he can't afford it, right? Not even if he wants to roommate with a friend, it's still not possible. I've seen other neighbors that have been priced out and have to move out. And these are lovely people that love the city, that grew up here and have to leave. So I think it is our business and it is our problem, and we do need to find a solution, and affordable housing is a solution. So I support that. But my question was, and you kind of touched upon it a little bit, the specific plan, because I know when Ivan said there is no plan, and then we're talking about a specific plan, what are we going to expect to see in the specific plan report?
So the specific plan is, for lack of a better word, I don't want to, it's specific in name, because it doesn't really have, like, we're going to build this, and this exactly, and you're going to see models and whatever. It's really a zoning document. So basically, with the specific plan, it's a zoning document that says, in this parcel of land, you have X amount of square feet, you have X amount of roads that are in the area to allow for travel. You can, then they plug in their formulas and say, you can build X amount of units, or you can build X amount of office space. And that's pretty much what that says. It's not going to get into, like we're going to have this building here and that building there and whatever. It's more of a general thing. Now, where the specifics come in is once the general plan is passed, assuming it's passed, then developers can look at that and say, I think I can make some money by building something there, because obviously they're in the business to make money. So they're going to look at, I can build something and I can make a profit off of it, and let me go to the city. And then we have those discussions. So then the second time that the discussions will be had is when the developers come to the planning commission to say, okay, this is what I would like to do inside of your area that you've designated the specific plan for. And then we review, okay, we don't like this, we like that, whatever, and then that project would get approved. So this is kind of like, so for this plan, going back to the RENA numbers and the 6,500, we have to zone for 6,500 units. Now, that doesn't mean that we're building. The city doesn't build anything. We just have to say, you can build these units on these properties. And that's what our job is. So we have to do that. We have to come up with those properties and that by the end of the year, I think. So I might be off on that, but around the end of the year, we have to kind of approve the whole thing to get sent off to the state and be approved.
So it's like reports, that's what we're gonna find on the specific plan, like different types of reports of zoning and?
It's going to basically be a lot of documents related to the types of traffic that might be expected, the types of the land development that might need to happen as far as grading and whatever. It's a lot of reading. If you want to fall asleep, it's some good reading.
Okay.
But in all seriousness, it's important to go through those things if you're really concerned, because they're things that they can say in those things that you might not be happy with, and that's why we have the time, the opportunities to comment. And I think the public comment ended July 21st, so you got about a month to comment on it. Whatever, if you like it, you don't, whatever it is. So if you see something specific in there that, hey, I don't think this is going to work because of this, then you can make that comment. And then, even if you need to come to the planning commission or the council and say it again, I made this comment here, it doesn't look like it was addressed, but usually in the plan, so when they do these planning documents, so they take all of these documents. So you submit something, everyone submits something. And then the staff prepares a response to each comment. We will address this concern by X, Y, Z, whatever it may be, And that's the goal of the whole specific plan in general. One, to kind of announce we would like to zone for whatever it may be. If you have a concern about it, we'll listen to your concern, we'll address your concern in the document, and then eventually it either gets approved or it gets disapproved or it gets modified. So, okay, so where were we? 3. Who was 3?
I was 3.
Okay, 4. I know Joe is 4 was 4. Okay, 4. Betty.
All right. My name's Betty Monroy, and I kind of wanted to give a face to affordable housing. I am the recipient of the Habitat for Humanity House, and that is affordable housing. So who am I? I'm a person that's lived most of my life. All my children were born here, lived here, graduated from here. And I was given that opportunity. Usually affordable housing doesn't mean, I've never been a drunk, I've never been doing drugs, I've never been on the streets. I'm not one of those people. I am a normal person that works hard, single mom, got all my kids through college. I did all of that, good. And I am the face of affordable housing. So affordable housing is not a person on the street, drunk or in drugs. That's number one. Usually affordable housing, in order for people so they don't have to go to Alabama or wherever they're going, they can find something here where they love and this is their community, especially the kids. The kids can't afford it unless they have an amazing salary that they can afford to buy a house. It's just not possible here in California. It's really difficult. So that is my comment on affordable housing. So That's me. Now, what I was going to ask is on the fact that we need to get more housing here in Downey, is there maybe an incentive that can be offered to build ADUs? Because ADUs are now approved throughout the state of California. And is that a possibility that we can offer residents some type of incentive to do an ADU in their properties?
As far as like an incentive for that, we're not really in the need for doing incentives with that in particular, only because since the one thing that the pandemic didn't do was inhibit people from improving their properties. So we've had more ADU applications in the city over the pandemic than almost any other time in our history. So like it's really boomed. So like not really a need for the incentives because there people are coming in, people are doing them. So we've had I think Aldo mentioned about 100 so far, or 100, I want to say 100 or 120 ADUs so far over the past year. So that's we're doing them, and pretty much the state is pretty much incentivized that already by limiting what we can do to say, oh, we don't like this, we don't like that, there's no parking, whatever. We can't do any of that because the state already said you can't. So, we pretty much just, is it safe? Okay, here's your paperwork. So, all right, so 5.
Can you guys hear me, or do you need me to have that thing?
Thank you.
The people online.
Hi. I live on Quill, and I was asking before about the restorative care center that's being built on the corner of Reeves and Quill. And from what I understand, 50 beds are going to be for the hospital, Rancho Los Amigos Hospital next door, which is a spinal injury hospital. In fact, best in the world. I did quite a bit of work for that hospital. I work in construction. Beautiful, beautiful hospital. I'm a little more concerned about people coming out of the county mental hospitals and the county jails being housed in an 80-bed unit right next door. No locks on the doors, no security. You walk out and do whatever you want. Okay, already we have a homeless problem. In fact, I apologize for walking out the door. I got a call back from the Downey Police Department because I've been calling them about the homeless problem at Apollo Park. They told me that they're going to go there tonight and they're going to start going after it. I walk that park every single day. There's constant homeless people camping out underneath the barbecue areas, and this problem's just going to get worse. So what I'd ask you to do as the councilman is to possibly get the police to possibly regularly patrol that area, because they're not. The homeless problem is getting worse. When that restorative care center opens with mental patients, from what I understand, they can walk right out the door. That to me makes no sense.
Okay.
If you want to, I brought a list with me of people, but I don't need to tell you. Timothy McVeigh, son of Sam, David Berkowitz, Edward Gacy. These are all serial killers that had mental problems that were in mental hospitals at one time. Ted Bundy. So what I'm wondering is why the county decided to put this in a residential neighborhood, number one, but number two, what is the city of Downey going to do for the citizens that are going to be impacted by mental patients possibly walking out the door and walking down the street? I've personally been harassed by one who threatened to kill me the other day, and one of the neighbors called the cops. He was drunk. They hauled him away for no particular reason. He came out of the park. What do you think the city of Downey is going to do with respect to that particular restorative care center and the current homeless population growing at Apollo Park?
Okay, let me try to tackle these and if I forget something, please remind me. Okay, so as far as the restorative care center, so I'll focus on the 80 because that's kind of what you focused on. So to me, I don't see them wanting to put like mentally unstable people there. Like it's a mental, for those, but like to qualify for that, they're not going to just say, oh yeah, yesterday, you were running around in a straitjacket in a padded room, and today we're going to put you over here by the park. I don't think it's going to go from that extreme to the other extreme. So I would assume that there's going to be services for those people that they're going to be receiving before all of that, since they're mental patients, and at appropriate time. So as a teacher, we focused on least restrictive environments. So like when we're dealing with students, like we want to have we realize students learn the best when they're in the least restrictive environment. That means an environment that resembles something close to what a normal classroom would be. So the idea, and let me fit, and I'll give you, so
People are being, just so I'm clear on this, and I'm not looking at a lot of them. This argument stated by Janice Hahn, she had a conversation with everybody on the phone call, and I was on that phone call, and it was very specifically stated, these are people being released from county mental hospitals. That means it's the day they walk out the door.
so but
With that being said, it was interesting to have a conversation with her and the drama that, I don't know if anybody's on that phone call, it was unbelievable to see her crying. Oh, the county is doing such good stuff for the community. And I'm typing in, you're not doing anything for our community. You're going to destroy our community. And they had nothing, they had absolutely nothing for her. We focus on that as well. Amazing to see her and the people talking about how this is such a good thing and how this is in other neighborhoods.
So, like, to be released from it's not like, again, we're they're being released from a mental facility because there's no need for them to be in said facility. Now, they're not just saying, okay, it's your turn to be released, so we're just random. Like, they're receiving services, and at some point in time, they've done enough to show that they have the support system and the ability to go to the next step. Now, you brought up jails, so nobody from jails are going there. So that's not a jail house. You're not being released from a jail to go to that site. That's not what that's for.
Why I say that is that the county jail has a mental ward. From what I understand, yes, they are, but Janice Hahn wasn't gonna say that as well.
We did say that though, on the video.
Yeah, you were on video.
Yeah, I'm on
Yeah, I remember you on
We
video. I remember
did,
you on video.
Yeah.
we did say that, and I think Dr. Harris said that we're not gonna get people from
Yeah.
jail.
But, you know, whether or not that comes true, because somebody was mentioning earlier, well, you hear about it now, but then later they do something else, what this lady here was saying. I guess what I'm concerned about is possibly more of a police presence, because what happened is happened. We can't close the door on this. They didn't give us an opportunity, Downey didn't give us an opportunity to stand and say anything about this, which in my book is a little ridiculous, but what I understand, the county of LA, Janice Hahn can do whatever she wants. She runs the county. We're small potatoes. I'm more concerned when you say somebody's being released from a county mental hospital, that's the day they stop taking their medication. That's the worst day, is to take them out of that situation and not have them somewhere that could possibly have maybe a security guard, please, something.
Well, it's not that they're there by themselves. So it's not like, I mean, they're still receiving services while they're in that facility, but it's the next least restrictive environment from that point. I can't say that they would or wouldn't be taking their medicine. I would assume that they would still be taking their medicine, assuming that's what's prescribed for them by their doctor. But really, it's to go to the point that you were saying as far as a presence. I mean, our police is aware of what's happening, and as needed, we'll go and deal with whatever situation happens, just like they do with any other situation.
We had mentioned earlier in the conversation, they have hired 10 more police officers.
Yeah, with the 2016 fund. So with the
Over in the South Park County, where we're being impacted by homeless, impacted by the new 700-unit dwelling, all these things that are coming up, that require a little bit more police presence. I would ask that the city of Downey possibly put some of those resources over in those neighborhoods where we're having this problem.
I'll bring that up to the chief. So with that, so I know I want to say there was something else that, if not,
Just that what the city of Downey plans on doing once that restorative care center opens, with the homeless people in Apollo Park this time.
Well, that was a Apollo. So
When my daughter asked me, why is that man giving himself a shot? Because he's shooting up in the park.
no, and that shouldn't be. And yeah, and that shouldn't be.
Police and say, hey, there's people shooting up in the park, smoking marijuana and smoking methamphetamines. They don't show up.
You know,
Show up a week later. I just got a call. I called him a week ago. There's 2 sergeants at the city of Downey Police dealing with the homeless. Well, why aren't you dealing with the ones at Apollo Park? What are they doing when they're not dealing with people shooting up in the park and smoking meth and smoking pot in front of all the kids playing soccer?
Yeah.
All the kids playing t-ball.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
I will talk to the chief pretty much right after I get off of this, and we'll.
A little bit more presence in that area, a little bit more concern for the citizens in that neighborhood.
Absolutely. No problem. All right. So you're 5. I think. So you're 5. 6. Who was 6? I think he was 5.
He's got to queue up his video.
Well, I have talking points to make sure our community gets everything. Well, mainly I'm here because I do know that you have a year and a half left. And for the most part, when people are about to term out, we see either 2 types of behavior. Either they vote in their personal interest, which is the right time to take a lot of corporate and lobbyist money, or they serve the community and take a lot of risky decisions that are not always popular. So I want to inform you some of the concerns that we have as constituents in the city of Downey, and we're hoping that in the remainder time that you have, hopefully we will see a fighter rise and address some of these issues. For one, the first one is easy. Mario Trujillo and Blanca Pacheco are talking about providing taxpayer money for private streets. They want us, the city of Downey, to move equipment to a very beneficial spot so that they don't have to flip that bill. Now, this year, all our programs were cut except 2, police budget, and I believe the second one was public works. And I just want to let you know, Mr. Ashton, we don't want taxpayer money going to private streets. If you have a private street, you should be able to address that, because I'm assuming you've either accumulated the wealth to own a private street, or you at least have connections and other resources that could be provided to you that aren't from the taxpayer budget itself. I want to inform the entire community about a second thing. We do have a freeway expansion that's going to be through the 605, that's going to cut into the 3rd and 4th district. It's going to affect 400 parcels. We're talking about 6,000 homes that need to be built. Now, I know there's a lot of different feelings about that, but taking out parcels that are essential for housing, as well as a school, an elementary school, and a park, Dennis the Menace Park, which we're throwing money at right now. That is not the way that we address housing issues. And definitely, it's an environmental hazard to even bring a freeway expansion that will not heal, and this is scientifically proven, will not heal the congestion, but only create more problems with lungs and air pollution.
It's the 5 and the 605, and I'll talk about that. But the 5 and the 605.
North Downey,
Yeah.
they're gonna do an expansion.
Well, I'll address it, but
And the last two points are the Pride Month. I know there's people with different religious ideology or whatnot, but the youth of that movement here has been asking to fly the Pride flag for at least 30 days. Other cities can do it. Everyone here probably has a friend or a family member that participates or belongs to that community. So we just want our elected officials to show that everyone is welcome here. And I know religion plays a role because we pray before every city council meeting. but we also want to make sure that people feel welcome and that they're not being left out. And the last one, and this one's particularly to you, Sean Ashton. There is an individual who has been trolling people online. He has made racist comments, bigoted comments, has laughed and mocked people online. Now, he's an appointed commissioner, and he's appointed by you, sir. Now, I'm not saying you appointed him or that you condone any of his behavior. I'm just saying that he's currently serving. And that man is Anthony J. Jones. So, as a community member and a constituent of the 4th District and of the city of Downey, I'm hoping that you could protect our youth from people who are trolling. And this is not just about free speech. This isn't an average citizen. This is someone that's appointed in a position of power in government here. That's what makes it different. That's why it cannot just be reduced to freedom of speech. So with that said, I hope to see the changes.
So, so number one was the freeway expansion. Let me just, because that's what I remember. So the freeway expansion. So there's a okay. So you already know about the work they've done on the 5 freeway up to the 605 from Orange County to 605. So they've done that. That's just about finishing up. The next step was to work on the area between the 605 and 710, and also work on the part of the 605 just north of the 5 where it bottlenecks to 3 lanes on both sides. I'm not really in support of tearing down homes at this time, especially with the comments you brought up that we're trying to increase the housing stock and we're going to take out, the plan, they had like 200 something homes in Downey. And then like across the line, like it was like 400 homes across the cities over there. I'm not in support of that right now as far as having homes torn down. I'm not. I do think we can do what we can to make use of what land is there without affecting the homes, to see if we can find a way to kind of fix some of the bottleneck issues without getting into homes. But at the point where it says we're going to tear down a home, no, I'm out. I can't support that. I can't. The Pride Month. We're going to have that discussion on Tuesday at council. So that's the mayor wanted to be available for that. The mayor wasn't able to attend the previous meeting in June. She's going to be at the meeting on Tuesday. We're going to have the discussion on Tuesday. As far as the comment with the person for one of my commissioners, they all have to sign now that we did the code of conduct, so all commissioners have to sign that, and if there's issues, then we'll address them as they come up. I don't, and then you got a 4th topic. Okay, that was the one I had a good, okay, so what they mentioned was not necessarily that we're gonna pay for it, but if we're doing a construction project by there, then we reach out to them and say, hey, would you like to be able to fix your street while we're doing this project? And then the bill would be assessed onto their property tax. So it wouldn't be that the city's paying for it, but there would be a cost savings because of a scope of work. So, but never, if I recall the conversation that happened, it wasn't that we were going to pay for it. It was, we're going to be doing work. Let's reach out and see if they would like to do it, because we're doing the bigger project. It would be a savings to have them do it as a piggyback onto that, but they pay for their street. And just like if we were going to do street lights on a street, the city doesn't pay for the street lights. It's the residents on that street that pay for it, and that would come out of their property taxes.
I just want the community to know that Waka talked about funding these private streets months ago. And then not only that, as a recent day, you see a $30 million increase in that budget, something that even made me worry a little bit. You can see that on video.
Yeah, so the budget, it's the only department that I think that actually had an increase was Public Works. And part of that is because a lot of the funding that we're getting from Public Works is non-general fund expenditures. So like the SB1 funds, the gas tax funds that we get for that. But most of our, actually, I think all of our departments had a slight decrease in all of them except for Public Works. So, but with that said, our police is roughly 40% of our budget, and our fire department's roughly 25% of our general fund budget. So, I mean, it's expensive to have your own police and fire departments, but that's there. And yeah, so. Yes, I think so. Was there a 7 or? Okay, 7, 8.
Hi, Sean. Jerry Hernandez. I'm a little confused by everybody's anger with low-income people, because in Downey, really the problem isn't so much low-income residents. It's the city council's repeatedly given huge tax breaks to a lot of big companies and corporations that come here, and then suddenly we see a lack in services, and we're going, why aren't they coming in? And it's a lot of that. They're not paying their revenue and getting a lot out of Downey. And I see that in the way the city behaves in patrolling South Downey, doing any type of civil code enforcement. How often I live between Imperial and Adore. So you all know where that is, on Downey Avenue. We're neighbors. And it's the craziest portion of South Downey, because there's no patrolling, there's no, people leaving their trash cans out all week. I mean, it's crazy, and we get angry at, the residents, but the city's not doing anything. I constantly tell you, I don't even bother going through the app, because every time I deal with the city, all I do is get harassed by the city people. I wish they were here today, because they suck at their job. I could do their job. And they are terrible at it, and it's pathetic what they do, and the police are a big part of that. I deal with the police. Just last week, people tried to break into my car, and the cops don't come. They don't do anything, and we do try to blame a lot of the low income, but again, a lot of the revenue that's not coming is because we have 2 Chick-fil-A's now, but how much are they paying in taxes? Benihana got a big tax break to come to Downey. $2 million when the guy who owns them is a billionaire. He owns Nobu and all this other crap. He's rich. He does not need a tax break. So I don't understand why we can't get the city to actually do their job and then we complain about revenue, but it's that. So I know it's a roundabout, but I really just want the city services to come to. It took me 5 minutes to drive over here, but the way City Hall looks at our part of Downey, it's like we're remote and so far away, because they only come. You guys have cops to patrol the bars in downtown with, again, getting tax breaks. But what about our part of Downey? We're all resident. We all pay taxes. Our tax it's 10% to any time you buy here in Downey. It's high. Yeah. So I'd like to see my tax money go towards services and not go towards tax breaks for the rich, and seeing the cops actually get off their ass and do their job. So thank you.
Thank you. 8. Thank you.
So I know that, so the homeless problem's getting worse. It's probably not going to get any better for the foreseeable future because of the economy, the way things are working. So the question I want to pose to you is, how frustrated? I know you're working with the county to do this specific project, the restorative care, and the sort of, it seems to me like a sort of bridge housing, affordable housing kind of hybrid model. How frustrated do you personally get when your community doesn't see the intricacies of how these initiatives are an actual investment in the overall beautification and restoration of community within the town?
So the frustration that I have is not necessarily on you, it's with myself, because I haven't done my job well enough to let everyone know what's supposed to be happening. So that's my frustration personally, because I mean, I'm getting ripped, and I don't like it. I mean, I didn't do this to say, yeah, just, roast me, please. No. Like, I care. Like, again, like Joe, I'm termed out. I'm not running for election again. I don't need to do this, but I want to do this, and I want to hear what you have to say. And I can't promise you I'm going to do everything you ask me to do, but I'm going to do what I can to at least make sure that your issues are addressed. And I would like to think that we can take care of some of these issues. That's my frustration with it all. I mean, there are things like I go, some of these other meetings I go to that like I vent, and it's like I see what other cities are doing that are why can't we do it? And I bring it up, and then things happen, and we don't do it. Like I wanted to purchase Reeves Mansion. I wanted the city to purchase Reeves Mansion and turn that into the Downey Historical Museum. I thought that would be a great idea. We could preserve that. Nope.
Nobody voted with you.
Nope. Yeah, no. Oh, we'd have to pay too much money to restore it, and then it costs money to staff it. And so, okay, I'm one person on a 5-person council, and I have to do my job to convince 2 other people to vote, and I couldn't do that. And so that frustrates me, the homeless issue that comes up. So in Bellflower, you guys know where Bellflower is. That's south here. So what they built a homeless shelter. They built a homeless shelter. And the reason why they did it is because they took part in a lawsuit, the same lawsuit that Orange County took in. So you remember, a couple of years ago, 4 years ago, something like that. So you remember that by Anaheim Stadium, the riverbed, they're just miles, not shelters, tents. I had when my dad passed, he lived in Orange County. I had to go to the county court to file some paperwork. They have a plaza there, and that was a de facto shelter. They had like Orange County sheriffs just kind of watching, but it was just turned into like pallet homes, and like it was crazy. They signed on to this lawsuit, federal lawsuit, that basically said, okay, well, another step back. So the reason why we just can't enforce our laws is because of a federal lawsuit, Boise versus Idaho, or no, it was Boise versus something. Basically, it's a federal lawsuit that took place in the federal courts that basically said if you don't have a place to put your homeless at, then you can't enforce your homeless laws. And the federal courts ruled that, and that's how come this problem kind of expanded, because we can't enforce it. And part of when we say enforce, we're not trying to say, go away. We really want people to get services. That's the true purpose of us to do enforcement, is to get people, hey, we really want you to get help. We want you, if you've got money issues, let's give you help to get a place, get stabilized, get ready to, if you have drug issues, let's get you off of the drugs, mental issues, let's get you, that's the purpose. That is the purpose of why we do enforcement. At least I would like to think that. Now, my theoretical stuff, that's what I truly believe. But we can't do any enforcement because we don't have beds to put them in. So Bellflower decided to sign on to this lawsuit. They did it on their own. They didn't have to do it. They did it on their own. They said, we're going to build this shelter in Bellflower, and we're going to put homeless people in it. And they basically they kind of had meetings like tonight where, they got tomatoes thrown at them, and what are you doing, and the whole thing and that. The residents there now, I can't speak for the residents there, but from what I've been told, the residents there, they're happier with having that facility there. The facility is run well. It's not intrusive. It's in an area that's not by a park. They did it well. They did a good job, and their ability to enforce their homeless laws they're able to do it. And by enforce, they can give those resources to people to say, hey, we would like for you to go get help here. We will give that, and then they can go and do that. But we can't, but I brought that up here. I said, let's do that. Why not? Well, let's do something. Let's figure this out. Let's do it. Nope. So. Oh, yeah.
So I mean, it's ridiculous to not do it, so that you can enforce the laws in your city. I mean, why would the city do it?
NIMBY, not in my neighborhood.
Well, it's not, I mean, it's not even that, because it never even got, like, the public didn't even hear about this. I'm telling this to you because this is my personal thing that, hey, look, I saw this. Another thing. So, Independent City Association is another organization I work. We had a conference where I had them tell us the whole thing about it. The what went well, what didn't work, the whole thing. And and the main reason why I did that is because I know my colleagues were going to be there and they could hear this and I can't get 3 votes. And I'm one of those 3, and I can't get 3. So, I mean, that's my frustration, because there's a lot of things that I truly wanted to do that, I thought they would be good ideas, but nope. So, with that said, I don't mean to kind of tangent and kind of get into that, but yeah, that's what frustrates me the most. And when I appreciate the fact that you're telling me what you're seeing and what you think and because I want to know, so that way I can at least go to staff and say, hey, this is what I got roasted on. Why am I getting roasted on this? Why is this happening? This meeting is being recorded, so I'm going to go back and make sure that I take notes and make sure I give a thorough report to our city manager and staff and see if we can get some of these issues dealt with. So I apologize, Lieutenant. Who's next? Okay, so I'm going to start over because I can't count higher than 8. So 1, 2. Okay, 3.
Hi, my name is Michael. I'm a homeowner, small business owner here in Downey. Lived here for 12 years. Just several comments and one question. I came in late because of work, but the proposed housing units in the south of Downey, you said there's, I believe, 700 some odd units. Now, who determines the number of units? Is it the city or is it the county, since it's their land? That's the first question I had.
Okay, well, ask them all, and I'll.
Yeah. Second one was actually just a thank you. Thank you for having Old River School Road fixed.
That is another thing. That took 6 years. I spoke about that project in my first town hall meeting. First one that I did after I got elected, 5.5 years. We're fixing Old River School Road, and it took them this long to do it.
It was about time. I was like, finally,
it was about time when I did it back then.
My car doesn't get damaged, The third part is, my house is very much in walking distance to the new rehab center, I guess it is. Restorative Care Center. I mean, 2 minutes and I'm right there. My concern is not necessarily the residents that might live there, but the potential traffic that's gonna be caused there, and maybe even the potential additional crime that might be caused because, someone might be visiting a resident there or something like that. There is no stoplight there. There's a stop sign. There's no stoplight. I'm not looking for a full-on like green, red, yellow stoplight, but something flashing saying, hey, you got to stop here. There's people late at night doing wheelies and donuts on the intersection of Reeves and Quill.
No,
there's people. So I jog sometimes in the evening. There are people, that are borderline about to commit a crime. I've had my car broken into 3 or 4 times. So, I mean, what is the city going to be doing in order to keep residents there safe? Given the fact that, there's going to be an increase of traffic there. And not only in Reeves and Quill, but, in that proposed 700, unit facility on Gardendale. I mean, those are several things that the city needs to keep in mind, you know?
Okay. So for the 700 unit, it's not, we're not building it now. Now when I say we're planning for it, so it's governmental ease for saying we're not doing this just quite yet, but we're making it available if somebody wants to do it. So not exactly. So part of my whole thing that I talked about earlier. So in the city of Downey, our housing number increased. So that increased up to I'm sorry. If some of you are leaving, I have business cards. I'll just leave them up here. So, but okay. Okay. So what was I going to say? Okay. So the state assigned Downey through regional or through Southern California Association of Governments 6,625 homes to build, or I shouldn't say homes, housing units in the city of Downey to build. So that 700 is part of that. Now that's not. We're not saying that. We're basically saying on that property, 700 homes is about what we think it can handle. That's what that plan is saying right now. Now it's not set in stone yet because it's still got to go to the planning commission. It's still got to come to council. You still have an opportunity to submit public response to that as well. And I had that up on the PowerPoint. I'll put it up on my Facebook page. I'll make sure that we get that information out. So if you do want to, ask, because that's exactly the questions that they need to reply to. So every time something is asked when it comes to that plan, then it requires a response from the city. So, kind of the traffic issues that you brought up with that. So when the state assigned our number, they honestly didn't look into what traffic issues or any other issues it would cause. So, just long story short, when we were supposed to, the Southern California Association of Governments planned and said that we should build about 400 and something thousand homes across 6 counties, LA, Ventura, Orange, Riverside, San Bernardino, Imperial counties. State said, yeah, that's good. How about 1.3 million? So they tripled that number, and then our number got tweaked from 2,700 to 6,500. But when they made those decisions, a lot of other after effects weren't thought of. Like, obviously, if you're going to have that many housing units, you're going to have at least that many more people, which means you're going to have probably close to that many more vehicles of some sort. Now, it'd be nice if everybody used public transit, and that way we could get less cars off the road. But I can't get to work at public transit. It takes me 15 minutes to get to work by car or 90 minutes to get to work by public transit. Do the math. They didn't think of that stuff. So at that when that number came for the 6,500 for the city of Downey, that wasn't really thought of. However, when we're looking at this specific plan, they're supposed to look at every single detail. So everything that's going to happen. So is it an Indian burial site? Is it going to be noise issues? Traffic. Whatever. They're supposed to look at all of these things and come up with the solution to help mitigate those things. So that's what's supposed to happen in theory. So whether they do or they don't, I'll be honest, I don't have that answer. But they come up with something that kind of says, okay, if this is a perceived problem, then we're going to take a look at how we can address that problem, and this is going to be our solution to that problem. And then we take a look at it and we think, okay, well, that makes sense, or no, that doesn't make sense, and then eventually it gets voted on.
There's a city council meeting, I'm sorry to interrupt here, but there's a City of Downey Council Chamber meeting in this room on July 7th with respect to exactly what he's talking about.
So that's the planning commission meeting. So
I've got a piece of paper on that. Do you think you could maybe put this up on your
absolutely.
Downey website?
Yep. So the Downey website should probably already have that, but
It's going to answer a lot of questions.
Yeah.
They have to do the traffic studies. They have to do all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's only like he's telling everybody, it's only a plan right now. It doesn't mean they're building it have to do a lot of studies, a lot of stuff going on. I know the public works guy here, he knows all about it.
So,
There's so many things that have to happen when any of that stuff gets built. That entire property over there is infested with asbestos.
yeah.
It's a 7-year cleanup.
Yeah.
Possibly at least.
So right now, so yeah, so the plan for that thing, for the planning for it is, that's the meeting for it. But as far as building, they're not building anything yet. That's just basically with that document, we're saying this property can handle this amount of development. If some developer wants to come in and build something, it can't be any higher than whatever number. So like right now it's set at 700. That's not counting the veterans housing that's on the other corner. So it's like 80 units. So basically it's going to be 620 units for that section, the main part of it. And if some developer thinks they can develop something and make money out of it, then they'll come in, they'll submit their plans again to the planning commission. They'll build it or not build it or whatever. And that'll happen at a different time. And then as far as the issues with the police and just general issues with that, Coit and Ray, how would you feel about a roundabout at that intersection or the stop sign? Because that's another thing that I've tried to bring up, and we've actually studied, and we're thinking about putting roundabouts in certain intersections where there's not where there's a stop sign, but people kind of ignore the stop sign. People use longer stretches of streets to kind of race, and so with the roundabout, it prevents that.
I've seen a dog get run over. I've seen a bicyclist get hit. I've seen like 6 or 7 accidents within this past year by dumb people that don't look at the darn sign.
Yeah.
It's quite annoying, and if my elderly parent wants to take a walk, I'm afraid for her safety because she cannot cross that street.
Because people don't look. Yeah. I'll bring that up to the chief as well, as far as, because a lot of people want patrols around that area as far, dealing with the park in particular. But yeah, I mean, if they're there, they might as well do that too. So all right.
I wanted to comment. I really am enjoying, this whole event. So I thank you for putting it on. I think it's really cool that we as a community can kind of listen to each other and even, hear different sides. I mean, I'd say on the affordable housing side, I'm definitely on the side of very affordable housing. But it's nice to hear everyone's thoughts. It reminds me of in New England, if you have family in New England, they have these town halls pretty regularly, and I think it's really cool. Anyway, so thank you for having this on. But I wanted to know if there's a way that you could kind of encourage this at the actual council chambers in the council meetings, because I know obviously that's subject to the Brown Act. So for example, you can't comment on anything during the public comment session. But I've been very concerned about the limitations on free speech that I think we've been seeing over the last 2 years or so here at the city council. So I'm thinking back to 2 years ago, people could go up there to that podium and speak their minds on any side of the political spectrum, and they did. So they could go up there and do that for 5 minutes. Then you and former council member Sav were united in this push by other council members to reduce it to 3 minutes, but they won. So now the standard became 3 minutes.
My life.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, that was great to just see that agreement. Because I know that perhaps you are not always with that council member Saab, of course, but now it's down to 2 minutes of public participation, and this is just frustrating. It's actually concerning. I don't understand why other council members want to do that. I really think what you're doing here, trying to get as much feedback from the public as possible, like you said, throw the tomatoes, and you're still here for as long as possible. I don't understand why recently we've had such a limitation. It's down to 30 minutes, and people only get 2 minutes, and I think it's just going to get even worse. And I'm concerned about that on multiple levels. So I'm wondering if you could address that. Thank you.
So the official time now is 3 minutes. However, because of and due to the emergency orders that were passed by Governor Newsom. They've allowed us to do certain things, like limit certain things to make it, more time efficient. And so that's what's being done. I'm assuming once we get away from the executive order that with the government meetings, that would cease to happen since everybody will be here. But I can't speak for the mayor. That's one of the few perks of being mayor. You get to kind of decide that, and it is what it is. I just, when I was mayor, it was 5 minutes, and you got a welcome to the meeting, and whatever you had to say, whether it was tomatoes or praise, I was for it. But it is what it is. As far as that, the only thing I could suggest is keep bringing up the issue, because it's not me that's fighting against it. I'm okay with 5 minutes. I mean, granted, some of the meetings run really long, but I was the idiot that decided to run for this position, so I knew what I was getting into. So it would have to be my colleagues, and I'm pretty sure that it's the same colleagues that are up there now that pretty much want to keep it at the time that it is. What I like, for me, like, I wish we could have done more of these and during the pandemic, and I didn't really think about doing the Zoom thing. I'm not really good at the Zoom thing. I think I'm a little bit more personable in person versus on computer. But in all seriousness, I kind of failed at that, and I think I should have found out a way to kind of have that type of dialogue during the pandemic. I'm glad that I'm having this opportunity to dialogue now, and hopefully in the next couple months, I'd like to at least like a coffee with council member type of thing, where you can just, I'll buy you a cup of coffee and we'll chat some more. So
So I don't know if anybody's officially thanked you, but I want to thank you for having this. I've only lived in Downey a little over 6 years, and as far as I know, you're the only council member who does have these town hall meetings, so thank you. This issue's already been brought up by the gentleman over there, but I just want to reiterate how important I think it is to get a handle on Apollo Park.
I agree.
With the fireworks, and in my mind, I differentiate between homeless and transients. To me, homeless are people that are maybe working people, just don't have a home at the time. These are transients. They don't want, like the lady over here said, they don't want
services.
They don't want services. They don't want help. They just want to be left alone and do what they want to do. Shoot up drugs, drink in public. I have a young daughter. I don't feel comfortable. I live 2 minutes from walking there. I wouldn't bring her over there right now, the way that place is. This rule or regulation that you talked about, as far as we must have a homeless facility, that's new to me. I hadn't heard of that. However, I don't know how new that is, but I know Cerritos, there's no homeless there. They're doing something and getting around that law, because I don't think they have a homeless facility there, and I don't know if there's more than a dozen homeless people in that city. So maybe we can look at what they're doing to get around this requirement, because I think that city's very well run, and I think we could do much better and maybe try to model ourselves after them.
No.
They can enforce, just so you're aware about with respect to Apollo Park, it's a municipal code that tells that you cannot be in the park after 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And you have to go into the park at 8 in the morning. So it has nothing to do, just so you're aware, it has nothing to do with the homeless law. They can throw them out of the park, and they'll be there tonight. I was on a phone call a minute ago with a There's 2 police officers in Downey. So that's one of the things with respect to the park, it's covered under municipal code rather than the homeless law.
Yeah.
You can walk right across the street into South Campus of Rancho Los Amigos,
And then come back, yeah. But we can, during the time that the park's closed, nobody is allowed in the park. So that can be enforced, and we should be enforcing, and to the best of my knowledge, we have been. But when they go somewhere else and then come back during the day, when the park's open, it's a public space, so it's hard to enforce, that type of law in a public space. But when they're obviously kind of like, needing assistance and doing, like if they're shooting drugs in the park, and that should be, that we can arrest them for, because now that's not a homeless issue, that's a drug issue, and that's not allowed. So we do need to do a better job of enforcement there.
The other morning, I went to the Bank of America early. In the bank, there's a man and a woman right back there, one urinating on the pole. I come out to go past the market, the Mexican market, there's a lady laying there on the sidewalk. So they're just coming from the car
Yeah.
across. You don't feel safe going in the Bank of America early in the morning to use the retail because there's a homeless there.
No, and I get the concern. I really do. When sidewalks are technically public spaces, the only thing we can do is if they're obstructing the sidewalk, but like an ADA type of issue where you can't get like a motorized wheelchair, something like, then we can have them adjust. But we can't, take them off because it's a sidewalk. It's a public space. Now, if it's like in the back or something, like on the property of like the market or the bank or whatever, then they can say, well, they're not supposed to be here. This is private property. Then they can have them removed, but then removed to where? The sidewalk,
I would just like to clarify myself. I'm not against low-income housing. Basically, what I'm against is multi-story
urban sprawl.
Apartment complexes. I didn't buy my home to live in a concrete jungle.
Yeah.
And now all around my area, I'm going to have huge multi-story buildings. At Rancho, we're going to have that. All those administrative buildings, we're going to have a huge parking structure. I'm going to have the train station. I'm going to have this veterans housing. I have path down the street. I have the 244 SOLA apartments right down the street from that. I'm going to have another housing complex at Paramount and Gardendale. What I'm against is these huge apartment complexes, and most of them do not provide enough parking. And you think that, you're renting an apartment to a couple when actually it's not a couple. It's 4 people, 5 people. They all have cars. The state thinks that we're all going to take public transportation. Now, how is an elderly person going to get to the doctor on a bicycle? It's the same with all these bike path or bike lanes that they're putting in. It's a pipe dream. Californians, am I going to do my hair and makeup and then get on a bicycle in my skirt and go to work and then take off my helmet and look like, somebody drug me through a hedge backwards? I mean, no, it's just not practical. That is not the way we live. That's New York, that's Chicago, that's London, that's not LA, and it's just so unrealistic, and they're just forcing it down our throats. So anybody who I offended with affordable income, my mother-in-law lived in senior low-income affordable housing for years and years. It's not a slam at that. But I will say that people who do live in apartment complexes are more transient and have less invested in the cities than the people who own property here and have lived here for years and years. When they're unhappy with something, they can easily move to another apartment complex. It's not that easy when you own a home here. And you've built your dreams around, you're living in this little bedroom community, and then all of a sudden, it's not anything like that
From the
anymore.
suburbs to the center of the urban
Yeah,
jungle.
if I wanted to live that type of lifestyle, I'd go downtown. Or, someplace that has that. I'd go to San Francisco. I'd go to New York City. I don't want to live that vibe, and now I'm being forced to live that vibe. So if I offended anybody here with the comment about affordable housing, I truly did not intend to, because that's not what I mean. I mean, all of this stuff that's going to be built, they're not going to be building single-family homes, which is the woman down here in front of me with the Habitat for Humanity. I
I'm assuming it's a single-family home
Yeah.
and not an apartment complex. And that's what I'm referring to, is because none of this stuff, they're not going to be building single-family homes. They're going to be building big apartment complexes with lack of parking, and that's the same problem with the ADUs. I mean, I live in Southgate. The parking is, at any time, over 80% of the street parking is taken. And now we've opened up this Pandora's box that anybody can build an ADU. In our city, it used to be you had to provide off-street parking for these things, and now they're saying, no, that's not true
The state
anymore.
took that away.
Yes, you can build this thing, and you can have 3 or 4 people living in your backyard, and they can all have a car, and they just wind up out on the streets. I mean, I have apartment buildings on Gardendale that are so overrun with people and cars that they are parking on every residential street around there. So now the residents don't even have a place to park. And a lot more people really, honestly, need to start using their driveways. I mean, that's a big problem with these multifamily homes, is that, so-and-so doesn't want to put their car in the driveway because then their brother might come home later. And then what if this person needs to get out? Then the brother has to move their car. Now, my neighbors have multiple cars, and I see them at night, and they're out there discussing who's going to leave first. And car A needs to get in, car B needs to get in, car C needs to get in.
Have you been spying into my life too? 'Cause that's the same thing with my wife, my car, our third car, same thing.
Well, I grew up in Bell where there's no overnight parking. So that's the way I grew up. Okay, who goes to work first? Whose car goes in first? Who's going to leave, So that's the way I grew up. And I am so happy that my neighbors do that. And then they don't have a car out on the street. I mean, it's just common courtesy. And it's the same thing with those people where there's a curb line that 2 or 3 people could park in, and some yahoo comes along and he parks right in the middle of it and ruins it for everybody. And you just can't be that way anymore.
Yeah.
But that's what this ADU thing and what all this housing is, because whoever thought up of the required parking for these places, even the required parking for what they're going to build down at Gardendale and Garfield, I think is inadequate.
Yeah, and it's probably going to be because the state is basically saying parking is not a concern, housing is a concern. And so we need to build the housing, and people magically get to wherever they need to go to. That's I think that's what they think when they go meet up there in Sacramento. But
Well, how Southgate gets around it is it has to be within X amount of feet of a bus stop. Because then there's public transport there.
yeah, but
So just about every place in the city, there is a bus stop within X amount. So they're covered.
yeah, see, with even with that, they're going to start taking a lot of those restrictions or those abilities to kind of make it easier for us to find parking. They're going to start making it harder and harder. And right now, that's their goal, because they're looking at this housing crisis where there's no homes, and we're going to do what we need to do to make homes, and not parking. They want homes, and and we're here talking about how we can't do much about it, because every time like they've had the Senator Weiner from San Francisco has tried to push the same bill like 3 years now, and it keeps getting voted down, but like it's getting closer each time. At some point in time, he's going to find a way to get enough votes. And basically, it's like we're going to do this whole like if you're within a quarter mile of a transit line, we're going to turn it into the urban jungle. Anything within a quarter mile of a transit line, that could be a bus stop, that could be anything, and the parking requirements won't be required. That's what they're trying to push, and each time he pushes it, we like the local cities have to fight back and say, look, this is not realistic. You're going to do a lot more harm than help with this. And he still keeps putting it up every year, and he keeps getting closer to passing it every year. And I think this year's version of it is called, it's either SB 9 or SB 10. But both bills are kind of similar to each other. I know most of the cities in the area have opposed those bills, and we've said as much and tried to say, look, this isn't good. This isn't good. It's the same thing you're trying to pass, and it's still not improving anything. So like I'm getting told that it's past my time. I'll stay outside if you want to talk to me, but they're on overtime, and I'm going to get in trouble for this. So with that said, I'll stay. If you have any more questions, I'll be outside. But thank you all for coming.